The words came out of his mouth like a thunderclap meant to silence the world around him. No one can touch me. The man stood in the middle of the crowded plaza, his voice booming with arrogance, his chest puffed out like he was invincible. He wasn't just shouting to the tomb guard standing nearby, he was declaring his untouchable power to everyone who dared watch. His name was Daniel Harrow, a man whose fortune and influence had made him believe that laws were meant for others, never for himself. For years, people whispered about his connections, about the judges and officials who bowed to his wallet, about the way charges seemed to slide off him like water off polished steel. He owned businesses, men's loyalty, and a reputation for crushing anyone who dared to question him. The plaza where he stood was meant to be a place of silence and reverence, yet he mocked it, walking dangerously close to the sacred boundary guarded day and night by the sentinels of the tomb. Tourists gasped, cameras clicked, and still he smirked, daring anyone to challenge his claim of power. The crowd didn't know it yet, but one soldier among them, silent, steady, and unshaken, would not let those words pass unanswered. For when a man mocks the sacrifice of the fallen, when arrogance taints a place of honor, there is always one who will rise to defend it. That one was a tomb guard. The guard, known simply as Sergeant Reed, didn't move at first. His duty had taught him patience, silence, and the value of measured action. The marble plaza echoed with Daniel's laughter as he strutted around, waving off security officers who approached him. He knew they wouldn't lay a hand on him. He knew the mayor's office had once taken donations from him, that the police chief owed him favors, that his lawyers could dismantle any accusation before it ever reached a judge's bench. He believed he was beyond consequence, and that belief showed in every step. But Reed's eyes, cold and sharp beneath his ceremonial cap, followed every motion. This was no ordinary disturbance. The tomb was not just stone and flame, it was memory, duty, and respect, built on the backs of men and women who had given their lives in silence so others could live in freedom. To defile it with arrogance was not something Reed could allow, no matter what power Daniel Harrow claimed to hold. The air grew tense, heavy with the unspoken realization that two worlds were colliding, the untouchable arrogance of wealth and the immovable duty of honor. And in that collision, something bigger than both men was about to spark. Daniel noticed the soldier's gaze and, for the first time, seemed challenged. He turned toward Reed, his grin curling wider, testing boundaries like a child taunting a lion behind glass. "You're just a guard," Daniel sneered, his voice dripping with contempt. "You can't touch me either. No one can. Not the law, not the police, not even you. I own this city more than the people running it." Gasps rippled through the onlookers as the man deliberately stepped onto the hallowed path that only the tomb guard could tread. That single step shattered the unspoken barrier, and Reed's hand tightened on the ceremonial rifle at his side. Still, the soldier did not lunge or shout. His discipline held like steel. Instead, Reed's voice broke the silence with the weight of thunder, a voice that had commanded obedience in war zones and ceremonies alike. "Step back," Reed said simply, but the power in his words sent a shiver through the plaza. Daniel laughed louder, pointing at him mockingly. "Or what? You'll arrest me, you'll drag me to court. I told you, soldier, no one can touch me." And yet, as the words echoed against the white marble and hushed the air, there was a flicker in Reed's eyes, something calm, dangerous, and certain. He wasn't bluffing. The crowd shifted, tourists holding their breath, children tugging at their parents' sleeves as if sensing something monumental was unfolding. Cameras continued to roll, phones capturing every moment, unaware they were filming the beginning of a story that would soon shake headlines. Daniel puffed his chest, enjoying the attention, but behind his bravado was a trembling truth: his ego thrived only when unchallenged. Reed stepped forward, his boots striking the ground with a measured authority that silenced whispers instantly. "You are not above respect," Reed said, his tone unwavering. "And you are not above accountability." Daniel smirked, trying to brush it off with a sarcastic clap, but his eyes betrayed a flicker of unease. For the first time in years, someone wasn't shrinking under his money, his threats, or his reputation. The soldier wasn't bargaining, wasn't afraid, wasn't looking at him like a man who could be bought. The guard's eyes burned with a deeper fire, the kind that came from serving something greater than himself. And Daniel, for all his wealth, had never faced that before. In that moment, the arrogance that draped him like armor began to crack, though he refused to show it. The standoff ended not with a scuffle, but with a vow. Reed didn't drag Daniel out, nor did he raise his rifle. Instead, he leaned closer, his voice low enough for Daniel alone yet strong enough to pierce his shield of arrogance. You say no one can touch you, Reed said, his words sharp as steel, but the law can. And I will take you there myself. With that, Reed turned away, returning to his post as if the matter were settled. The crowd exhaled, unsure of what they had witnessed. Daniel, left standing in the sacred boundary, suddenly felt the weight of dozens of eyes that no longer looked at him with fear or envy, but with judgment. He had challenged a symbol greater than himself and had not broken it. Instead, he had been marked. What Daniel didn't realize then was that those words were not idle. Sergeant Reed was a man of action, and what began in whispers at the tomb would soon thunder in the courts. For when arrogance collides with honor, the battle doesn't end in the plaza, it follows into the very heart of justice. And that was where the tomb guard would prove that even the untouchable could be touched.